Well, it's so nice to have a chance to chat with you one-on-one, Carl. So I'm Elisa, and I am a student completing my master's in public policy and administration. And previously, I studied at the University of Toronto, focusing on foreign policy and international relations. And I came to Carleton primarily because I wanted to have the opportunity to learn more about the Canadian policy landscape. And that is sort of what drove me to start this program. I'd love to hear a little bit about you and what was sort of the impetus for you starting the MPPA.
Yeah, the fact that I'm here has a lot to do with my undergrad. I worked for 3 years after high school before starting as a mature student. I don't know how mature I was, but I started WLU in my undergrad and did an honors political science and economics. And really found that quite interesting. And it took me to the place where I then started educating myself about what different universities had by way of complementary master's programs. I hadn't intended on doing a master's program. I had intended on getting my BA, honors BA, as it turned out, get a job, and away I go. But then I thought, this is quite enjoyable. And I was intrigued, and there was a lot going on at the time in the public policy world.
I think the opportunity to study and work in the nation's capital was also important for me. And I think that it has really been a nice opportunity to learn a lot about the complexities of the Canadian Federation. And in my case, although I studied last year here, I had the opportunity to go back to Toronto over the summer and apply a lot of the knowledge that I learned over the course of last year to my role in intergovernmental affairs. So I will say that I think this program has certainly prepared me well in terms of ensuring that I am able to adapt to a variety of different situations, even in terms of research papers or the variety of different electives.
Yeah.
I know for me, a lot of my interest areas relate to health and social policy, but I found myself also learning a lot about environmental and energy policy. And so I think there's a lot to gain from a program like this. And I'm grateful that I was able to apply a lot of the knowledge that I acquired here and have I think a general comprehensive understanding of how policy across various jurisdictions can manifest and how it can change depending on different, as we know, geopolitical challenges or tensions, in addition to domestic realities as well. So I think it's nice to have just something that prepares you as a generalist. And I can safely say that I have felt like this program has given me a good foundation to apply myself in various policy roles.
You know, it's interesting. I think that the school, the school curriculum, syllabus, whatever you would call it, I think thematically, it has certainly evolved. It's much more complete and a sort of much larger number of choices. But I thought that one of the constants was the fact that in first year you were expected to take and master a set of separate policy areas, issue areas, like economics, political science. You were expected to be able to have a foundation and get that in first year. You may have already had part of that in your undergrad, and so therefore you might have had some ability to maybe obviate one or two of those programs because you've already had, like I had economics and political science. So they said, yeah, we're not going to make you do that over. So what it did was it fed into two things, requiring you to actually do the things that you might not have really wanted to do in your undergrad, and you had to take those, accounting, for example, which I had not had. But then again, in second year, you really did have, and I think you still do, a fair bit of flexibility in building quite a bit of your own program. And so that, but by that time you had learned what your interests were, maybe what you thought you were good at, maybe you weren't, but you thought you were, and you were able to apply yourself at different programs within, say, political science or economics, or another 2 or 3 programs within the university. And I thought that that was really, really a benefit, because we're all individuals and we all have sort of expectations and interests and confidence levels about certain things. So in the second year, I thought that was really a great thing to be able to do. And it actually took me into a program run out of the economics department that actually landed me my first interim job after I graduated in May of 75. So I think that that foundation of the program has not changed. And I think that's really, really saying a lot after 50 years, that it's that well thought out and effective.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point is seeing what has translated really well and what has. I think it's, as someone who didn't have much of a policy background before I started this program, I think that having that foundational knowledge is really key as part of the curriculum. And I'm glad to hear that you felt that as well.
As we were mentioning, we had a great tour of the campus today, and the campus has fundamentally changed. Many, many more students and many more buildings, and some of the locations I didn't recognize, some I did. But it speaks to the subject of the world is changing, and we're participating in a changing world. We are not getting education for the purpose of sitting home and doing nothing. We want to be out there. We want to affect the world we live in, and we want to see change, the right kind of change made. How would you describe, what you would like to see as a function of your own engagement in the big world?
Thank you for that question. I think, as someone who has had the opportunity to work in the international development sector before I started at the SPPA, I think I realized that there's so much that you can contribute, both globally and also within your own local community. So for me, I think I want to continue to have experiences where I am able to contribute to individuals within my local community, whether that be at the municipal level, provincial level, or at the federal level. I think there's quite a bit of fulfillment in having the opportunity to affect change in minute ways, and also in perhaps more broader, abstract ways, let's say. And so for me, I think I am always open to new opportunities to contribute. And I think it's really hard for me to pinpoint one specific area that I would like to contribute. But I think I know that when I had the opportunity to work in intergovernmental affairs, that really inspired me and made me reflect on the complexities of the Canadian Federation and how important it is to engage with stakeholders and engage with local partners and Indigenous communities, and how pivotal all these different voices are in affecting change and in ensuring that we are moving forward and making improvements. And I think for me, it's a goal of mine to continue to learn from others. Again, I don't think there's one particular area that I'm drawn towards, but I do think I have found a great fulfillment in focusing on projects or programs or policy areas where I'm able to see how different, voices can be heard, and then also how we can make improvements through feedback from communities and ensure that changes that are made are actually benefiting those that are most heavily impacted.
Well, I think the skill sets that you're going to pick up through the program will give you a foundation for recognizing, when you're finished your degree and you're out in the quote-unquote real world, where those opportunities to make a change and make people's lives better can come from. And I'll give you an example. When I finished, of course, a lot of poli-sci and a lot of study in the area and a lot of med prov and all kinds of things. One of the things I did was I recognized that you need to start at the local level to really help people in their immediate lives. There's lots of ways of doing that. I ended up becoming president of both my federal and provincial parties riding association, as we then called it, EDAs now, in Ottawa West. Okay, fine. I got involved in that because I thought, no, we need to organize this better. We need to be more effective. We need to be more able to represent people here and bring our policy initiatives to the party and impact local elections. So because we thought we had some good ideas. The other thing I did was I became president of my local minor hockey association, right? My sons played within it, and a whole bunch of other kids in the neighborhood did, and I knew all their families. And I thought, well, this is a way of bringing some administrative policy, management, financial integrity to a program at a local and community level. All of those things which I had been exposed to in the context of this program. And didn't realize at the time that, no, I can do that and I can make an impact there. So those are very small examples, but they demonstrate how you can benefit others, take on challenges, make a difference, address change, predicated on what you've been able to do. Now, 2 years at a program here also forces you to get engaged. You got to deal with challenges, and you got to deal with administrative challenges of your own, of the schools, and also working with other people. I think I would tell students coming in, you're going to learn from your profs, you're going to learn from the syllabus, you're going to learn from being in lecture halls, you're going to learn from doing research paper. Here's where you're really going to learn something of value with the people you're going to school with. Really spend time getting to know them, getting their opinions, thoughts, and understand their experiences. Asking them, hey, how would you address this? How would you address that? Because as per our program 50 years ago, we had people from lots of different countries. And the perceptions about issues were a little different. Solutions were a little different. But it opened your mind to the fact that there might be other ways of thinking about things. So yeah, you can make change. You can impact change at a local, maybe a national level. I don't know. But you have to have the skill sets in order to be able to do that.
It's definitely something that I have incorporated in my own worldview is keeping in mind how one's own biases can sometimes cloud your perception of something, and how it's important to have those dialogues and see other people's perspectives, even when you yourself may think that the answer is very obvious or but it's important to recognize the nuance, and I think see where different voices may be underrepresented, let's say. Yeah.
It's fascinating. You can't get through this program without learning how to work with other people, learn from other people, collaborate, either in joint projects or even in a panel discussion. It really helps you to learn to engage, listen, but also come to some conclusions about, okay, what needs to be done. There's an awful lot of academic energy wasted on just shuffling around through a particular issue and not coming to any conclusions about, okay, what are we going to do? Well, you get through this place, you've done some things, okay? You've been forced to do some things. And then you carry that with you into working life, wherever it is. But that's a big benefit, big bonus.
I'd love to hear about how the SPPA community made an impact on you during your time at Carleton and also following the completion of your degree. I know today you had an opportunity to go on a tour with some of your peers, and I'd love to hear about, when you look back, what has the SPPA community meant to you?
Well, when I first started here in 73, we were a fairly small class. The program had changed in 72. It was a very small incoming full-time class. The 73 group that I was with were probably only full-time, probably only 15 or 16 of us. We were at Patterson Hall. we were in the same building on the same floor, and we were very in close proximity to each other, so we got to know each other. That was one of the benefits of being in close proximity. You had to learn how to get along with people. You had to learn how to help people. They could help you. As a function of that, we also shared a lot of common interests and socialized a lot together. We had a broomball team, for example. Many of us used to play Saturday afternoon at an old outdoor hockey rink in the fall, no ice. We would play ball hockey, and then we would rejoin to a hotel that still actually exists on the market called the Lafayette. Well, it's those in-class, in-hall, and social activities which allow you to really learn about people and understand and appreciate their perspective and their value. Part of the value is supporting each other, because this can be tough from time to time. And somebody's going to have a difficult time, and you can perhaps help them. They might have an expertise where, gee, I mean, stats. I was terrible in stats, but I had to get the course, or else I wouldn't pass. And there were a couple of guys who really helped. But that was only a function of us getting to really know and be comfortable with each other and confident in each other and respectful. So I think in the working world, you're going to be out there. If you have an opportunity to develop the same kind of relationships, that's great. So I really think that is one of the things that we all took away, and the evidence of that is today. We've got, I think there's about 7 or 8 of us today that graduated 50 years ago, and then I will be hosting a backyard barbecue tomorrow for another 4 or 5 that couldn't be here on this location. But we all see each other, and it's like the years just drop away. But that's only a function of the time we put in together, academically and socially.
That's lovely to hear. I think that something that's also really important to me is the community here. Compared to my undergrad, I really feel like the SPPA community has been incredibly supportive, and as someone who is a member of the SPPA Society, I think that has played a huge role in ensuring that I am not only having the opportunity to learn and grow academically, but also have the opportunity to, as you noted, learn from other people, learn from my peers, and also foster great friendships. And I'm really glad to hear that you felt like no time had passed when you all met up again. I'm sure with my cohort, we will have the same experience. And I think that's what's so valuable about this program in particular. I think I noted when I first arrived how incredibly welcoming everyone was, and how important this work was for everyone. And so we were all, I think, not only united in our interest in policy and the importance of acquiring more knowledge related to policy development, but I think we also have learned a lot about what we value aside from that, and how that all connects. And I think it's really, really nice that people can come from a variety of different regions across the country and still be able to connect in a variety of different ways, and also be really, I think, genuine and committed to supporting one another. Like you said, the importance of having, say, a study group or having assistance when you are having challenges with coursework. I noticed the same thing with our cohort. The importance of being there for each other is really key.
Well, we're all in the same boat. I mean, we all come in here from different places with different backgrounds and experiences. There's some commonalities, but by and large, we bring different geographic, sort of references, and maybe different program references. Maybe we're single, maybe we're married, maybe one of the guys had kids. So you kind of sort of, well, gee, I'm going to have to figure that out. What's that all about? And by the time you get out of here and you made those relationships and friendships, and you've learned a lot about people approach life differently. And that's not bad. That's good. because that broadens your own horizons, right? There's not just one way of doing things. So I think that that's good. I would say, I would also give you a thought. This is a very, very stressful time in a public policy, international, geopolitical, even in a Canadian, FedProv environment. That's the way it was, and that's the way it's going to be. And in '73, when we came here, things seemed kind of interesting. The Vietnam War was still on. Gaza, the Sudan, Ukraine. A lot of bumptiousness about that. We got here in '73 in September, and October was the Yom Kippur War. Okay? And that resulted in the Arab oil embargo, as it was called. Gasoline prices went through the roof. There were long lineups of cars unable to get gas in the States and here. And it set off what became known as stagflation. High inflation, really reduced economic activity. Stagflation. And we thought we'd never get out of this. It was the end of the world. But over time, there were public policies that addressed that, and things changed, and people got to work. And, we went through a couple of elections. There was an election in 1972. The Liberals won by 1 seat. How many seats did they win by this time? 1 seat. Okay? So things happen, and there is change all the time. And I think that the program, the education you're getting here will stand you in good stead. But remember that it's all happened before. It's all going to happen again, but be ready.
Absolutely. I think that's an important lesson for us, I think, especially as young policy students and analysts, is that even when the challenges seem insurmountable and seem like they are impossible to correct, or there's a lot of precedent, and it oftentimes is not a quick fix. So we are certainly seeing that now as well. When new challenges present themselves, you have to adapt. And it's always great to have so many wonderful, for example, faculty members and academics who are wrestling with those questions at all times, both at Carleton and elsewhere. So it's certainly always, reassuring when you hear from others that have been through a lot of stressful geopolitical challenges as well, and how do you navigate them. So my final question for you is, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice as an incoming SPPA student, what do you think it would be, and why?
I suppose as an incoming student, and what I learned ex post facto after 2 years, would be follow your interests. Make sure you're following your interests, and that you're applying yourself within the program to subject matter that you're really, truly interested in. Don't force yourself, round peg, square hole type thing. The other thing is, I suppose, after 2 years, I learned that that the people around me, my fellow students, were becoming more and more important, both professionally and socially. So those are the two things that I learned, along with the benefit of being in Ottawa. I mean, I was able to watch stuff happening in real time in the area that I was interested in. So that was, I would say, those things. They sound a bit amorphous, but that was reality for me.